Hello, my dear listeners. My name is Kishore Ganesh, and in this episode of the Vocal About Visuals podcast, I will be sharing my thoughts on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is streaming right now on Disney Plus. And if you're listening to this in Asia, on Disney Plus Hotstar. Shang-Chi is a Marvel movie. What's more, it is yet another origin story. And when these two aspects come into play, it essentially means that this movie will have a familiar look to it. It will follow a template, and it will, more often than not, be a middling movie. Of course, this is not always the case. Iron Man, for example. But more often than not, it is. Take for example Captain America the First Avenger, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, and even Thor. Looking at Shang-Chi, I am in no way saying that it is as bad as, let's say, an Ant-Man, but it is definitely playing it safe and is middling. To its credit, Shang-Chi does try a lot of interesting things, and mind you, we are entering mild spoiler territory here, like having the lead character not have a bona fide love interest and instead have a platonic female friend, or indeed making this an extremely family-centric story, which, given the Asian roots of this hero, is not at all surprising. There is also a very myth-like quality to this story, more so than even Doctor Strange, and all the different ways in which the writers and the director pay homage to the classic kung fu movie format add to the interesting choices that have been made here compared to other Marvel movies that have come before it. Now, there is one trope which I personally hate a lot, which this movie has done a very good job in changing and adding context to, that made it acceptable. And the trope that I'm talking about is the good girl falling for the bad boy. In fact, this trope is changed to such an extent here that there is not even a bad boy here anymore. There is just a misguided and confused soul. And in this movie, that character belongs to Tony Leung, who plays Shang-Chi's dad. And in a way, I think he kinda shares the leading man space with Shang-Chi here. His is the character that undergoes quite a lot of evolution and has quite a bit of an arc in addition to having considerable screen time. And this character is surely one of the better aspects of this film. Coming to, pardon me if I'm butchering his name here, Simu Liu, who plays Shang-Chi. He is convincing as the character, but I think this character is stricken by the origin story illness, where you distinctly get the feeling that this character will hit greater heights in consecutive movies. Here, Shang-Chi the character, everything put together, acting, writing, etc., gets a solid 70 to 75 out of 100. But of course, this is Marvel Phase 4, so there are many more chances down the road for this character to make up lost ground. Awkwafina, who plays Katie, Shang-Chi's platonic female friend, is quite good here, with the humor and acting helping to keep the plot moving and the movie engaging. One of the most intriguing characters of this movie is Shang-Chi's sister, whose name I know I'm going to butcher, but here goes. Xialing, played by Menjie Zhang. This character has a very interesting arc and sets up the stage for further Shang-Chi movies and a bigger role for herself too. One highlight related to the Xialing character is how the writers introduced gender equality to affairs related to her. This made me smile, and what's more, Marvel did this in a post-credit scene. There is always time to make a statement. On the whole, Shang-Chi adds another dimension to the MCU. It brings in the flavor of a kung fu fairy tale to an entity that already has incorporated a lot of genres into it. And yet, because it is an origin story, and probably because the challenge that the hero has to overcome seems a bit more in the personal realm that doesn't lend itself to a visual spectacle, combined with the fact that the existential threat that the hero faces is more akin to a force of nature, a natural disaster, rather than a being with a personality, that this movie somehow feels less fulfilling than what its various unique and intriguing parts promise on paper. Once again, my name is Kishore Ganesh. This is the Vocal About Visuals podcast, and thank you, my dear listeners, for your time and for listening.